PRI.
When the We Rise Festival was kind of the first of its kind in terms of just run and organized by local artists. We had meetings like every week of all the volunteers and all the people that wanted to be involved and contribute to making a change. And so the network of artists and musicians that were involved, there was 20 different musicians that performed, probably 50 artists that were involved, like skateboarders came out, vendors, etc. And that event itself was like a big spark for the community of artists coming together, working together, producing their own events. Artists are seeing what's possible, when they watch me throw events, when they watch other people organize events and projects. I think there's artists and projects that are going on that are definitely building on this arts and culture community here. And I think the future for our city's arts and culture is bright, and every day somebody's doing something new and exciting.
That was Nico Holderbaum, and this is Beyond the Bold. Nico is an artist, creative director, and community organizer who focuses on youth empowerment through the arts. Her murals have beautified schools, public parks, pro sporting venues, businesses, and homes throughout Florida. Street art comes in many forms, and at its best, it can open the floodgates and create a rising tide that elevates an entire neighborhood. Artists create interest, interest leads to involvement, involvement raises investment, and in the end, a neighborhood can be transformed for the betterment of everyone who lives there. Randy Goodwin starts the conversation by looking at a new mural in the Arlington neighborhood of Jacksonville, Florida. Each letter in the name of the neighborhood is spelled out in huge, colorful blasts. Each one is a diverse portrait, both in content and style, and they're all painted by local artists. The finished product represents a slice of the culture of the area. When you pass this mural on the highway leading from downtown into Arlington, not only do you know where you are, but that there's something going on here, something fresh, something promising, something worth your interest, your involvement, your investment.
What do you call what you do?
I'm an artist, creative director, community organizer.
And I guess muralist?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is that a big part of what you do?
It's a big part of how I made my name, but it's not exactly my current preference of what I would like to be doing in my downtime when I get to do whatever I want. I do love painting murals, but not so much as commission. I'm trying to focus more on my own original work as opposed to doing commissions. So now my preference is staying inside and painting.
How big?
I do like to do big paintings.
How I'm recognizing there's a lot of things I want to go back and talk about how you got started, but I want to jump ahead and realize this somewhere on my stack of papers here is this one. You had something to do with this one in Arlington?
Yeah, I'm the that's actually a rendering.
Is it?
It looks a little different now, but that is the wall at College Park.
Yes.
I was hired by JWB Companies, Alex Sifakis, to direct the project, and I also painted one of the murals.
I know Alex, he's pretty cool. I guess I live in the Arlington area, so for those that didn't know, this was Town and Country for many years. Mm-hmm. And he bought it, changed the name, and then I saw this. I didn't know what to think about it first, but boy, it's really, really cool.
I'm glad you think that.
I mean, I think it's really, really cool, and it's probably, and at the same point, regretfully, the only cool thing that's around that area, which is right where I live. But it does, it definitely stands out. I love what it turned out. I didn't know what to think about it at the beginning because I didn't know you and I didn't know what to think, but it is, we needed something that would sort of just bring us together where people can understand what part of town I'm talking about. Because Arlington in general can be pretty broad, and so to take it down when you say old historic Arlington, I mean, they still don't get it. You got to say by JU, but now we got something to sort of say that people are going to recognize because they went by Arlington Expressway. And I didn't know that was. So tell me about this. What role did you play in all of this?
Well, I do want to say that I also just painted a basketball court in Arlington, not far from this wall.
Where?
Right down the street from Kona Skate Park, which is also like an amazing, iconic.
I know where Kona Skateboard Park is from when I was a kid. So where is this?
So the basketball court is at Warrington Park. It's right next to the elementary school there. I forgot what the name of it is. I'm drawing a blank. But it's at a park right down the street, Kona Avenue.
What is it? What would you paint? What did it look like?
The basketball court?
Yeah.
So I worked with Arlington 2020, which is an amazing group that, gets volunteers together to do community projects. And so we did this basketball court, and the design is Bessie Coleman. It's a portrait of Bessie Coleman, who's the first female Black pilot and first Native American woman pilot. And they made a film about her at Norman Studios, which is a historic film studio in Arlington.
Right.
And we wanted to, do something that was relevant to Arlington. And The Flying Ace, which is the film that they made at Norman Studios, which was inspired by Bessie Coleman, was, very well known and kind of famous coming out of that studio. So that's kind of the theme that we went with.
So did you, I got to go back up. Didn't get
right. Sorry, you're right.
Okay, I know he's talking about
I do that.
Did you? Is this your entire concept? Did other people are rolling this? Did you come up with this? Did you talk with other artists to come up with this? Did you paint this literally? Did you do all this?
You're now back on the mural.
Yeah, back on the Arlington,
mural.
the town and country called College Park now.
The wall at College Park,
which is the one I'm most obviously closest to. So tell me about it.
Yeah. Okay. So what I did, JWB, they wanted it to say Arlington. They wanted it to be kind of like the Hollywood sign style, something that was iconic. So I selected artists from all different parts of the city that I felt like, were very passionate and driven about their careers and had contributed, greatly to our art and culture community. And so that we had, representation from all around. And then I just kind of asked them to pick which letter they wanted to do, and I gave them, creative freedom for their designs. So I really wanted their unique creative vision to be expressed and displayed in their murals, to let people know that, these artists live here in our city, and they're able to produce this large scale, beautiful work. So. Did
you paint any one of these?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I painted
Which letter
one.
is yours?
N. For Nico.
That's not the one in this photo. That's not the N.
The one in the middle.
Oh, okay. But that's not the one that it turned out like, right?
Right. It's a different. So the original design was a little similar to a different mural around town. So I changed it up a little bit, and I chose to feature my friend Ebony Payne English, who's a poet, a writer, and an educator here in Jacksonville. She's just incredible, one of the greatest professional poets and writers that we have in the city, and she also has transformed a lot of young lives through her teaching, particularly fostered youth through the Performers Academy, and she's just amazing. So that's why I wanted to feature her.
Was there a grand opening or not opening, an unveiling in the end of this? I'm just curious because I didn't hear about it because I drop out every day, but I didn't see. Was there?
The completion of the mural, the end of the mural, was the beginning of coronavirus. So we had ideas. We had lots of ideas. I wanted to do I've done a lot of big events, so I wanted to do the same thing right there in the parking lot and have performers and vendors and all that. But, we couldn't.
It'd be a really cool event right there. And
maybe we can work together.
It would be really neat for all the thousands and thousands of cars that go by there to be able to see. It would be a great activation, obviously, for what it is. I would assume, so you have 7 different artists or whatever it was?
I think 8.
8. I didn't count the letters, but okay.
I get confused. I have to count sometimes too. How many?
Is it one of the proudest ones that you have, that you're part of? No? Yes.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's definitely a dream come true to be, hired to organize something on that scale, and I feel very proud of, the efficiency with which it was done. We got it done in, less than a month, and I think the artists all did a really great job, and I drive by and see people out there all the time, like taking pictures and music videos.
I haven't stopped, but I'm going to. I haven't got my picture there, but a lot of people know I'm very involved in Arlington. In fact, I'm on the Arlington CRA, and so I'm very involved right there from Town and Country going all the way to Blue Cypress Park and all that revitalization of Arlington. I've been on that board for a few years, so I'm very actively involved, but I want a great picture right there in front of all that. So I'll be one of the ones. I just haven't done it yet.
I'm really glad to hear that you like it. At first, a lot of people were like, what's going on? Like people stopped and kind of expressed themselves a few times, and then, there was talk online on the Arlington app, the neighbor app. I think it's Next Door, maybe is what it's called. But, since the completion, I think people have kind of come around and started to really like it. So the fact that you're really involved and that you like it makes me really happy.
It is. And we've talked about it in our meetings, and we love it. I mean, I think it's awesome. We needed art. We need a lot in that particular area where I live. But this is really cool. So you clearly cannot be scared of height.
Not anymore.
How many hours for your letter in?
It actually didn't take too long, maybe about 4 days in total. I was there every day because I was, making sure that all the artists kind of had everything they needed. And so I was just either, working like on my computer in my car or painting if I felt like painting. So I don't know exactly how long, but I'd say like about 4 days I put in a decent amount of work.
Was it tough to figure out who the other artists were going to be? Because is there a lot to choose from, or did you feel that, this is who we are?
It was really tough, but, I could go through and tell you why for everyone. But like I said before, I chose ones that I felt like represented a diverse community within our city to kind of show the diversity of our city and the diversity in Arlington. And also, ones that have been active and, making a name for themselves as an artist and, maybe they deserved it. And also some of them deserved the opportunity, like Elena, she did the letter A. She does a lot of Asian inspired artwork. She is Asian herself, and she's never done anything on that scale before. And same with Martin Torres. He's actually my assistant, or has been my assistant for a long time now. He's independent, but he's never painted his own mural on that scale at all. So neither of them.
What letter is he?
He did the LI. They're together.
Okay. Oh, yes.
So I taught him everything he knows, and I was very confident in his ability to do whatever he envisioned for his design. But yeah, I just wanted people that deserved it and people that from all over Jacksonville could feel like represented by it when they looked at it.
How much of a role or input did Alex have on this, or did he just? I'm just curious. How much does he? I guess you would call it the client. How much does the client give input other than what you were telling me about the Hollywood sign with characteristics of Arlington? How much other direction or input did he give?
So Alex was amazing in this project because a lot of the large scale public art projects that happen in Jacksonville, first of all, don't even go to local artists, which is frustrating for me.
I bet. Yeah.
So, I was really grateful for him to first of all want to include local artists, and then in terms of just kind of allowing the artists to be freedom with their design, he was really open to it and really we went through a couple renderings and kind of changed little things here and there, but in the end he really enabled the artists to stick to their unique visions, which I'm so grateful for him. I think this is one of the greatest, definitely the largest local artist collaborative public art piece in the city.
Yeah, I'll give a shout out to him too. I think he's a great guy. I've known him for a few years. So anyway, so here, when you do something, not just there at Town and Country, but any of the ones of the large murals that you've done, do you execute within some kind of agreement how long it has to be left alone? Because I can only, meaning before they would do something else to it. I mean, I would be, with the amount of effort it took to put towards it, even though you were compensated for it at some point, I'd leave it alone for 20 years, or at least give me some time to feel like that it was worth all the effort, even though we were being paid, or is it not like that?
It's different for every project. Sometimes, you'll do a mural and the building gets demolished in like 6 months. For this one in particular, I don't anticipate it being, changed for a while, but they are, really putting a lot into that shopping center. So changes are possible. And we definitely had agreements. Like everybody signed agreements. We all had, have to be on the same page with something like this. And we all agreed that, if, a development were to come, that, it is what it is.
Everyone loved art class as kids, but few of us still draw and paint as adults. Brandy wanted to know where Nico's initial artistic inspiration came from and what made her decide to take the narrow path that led into professional life.
Well, my parents are amazing, and they always sent me to really cool summer camps. And one of the summer camps when I was like 6 was art camp. So that's kind of when I started making art and doing art. And then, they enabled me to go to the Middle School of the Arts and then the High School of the Arts in South Florida. And I wouldn't say that I was like a passionate artistic person. Some of the kids that I work with now that were my age when I was doing art, like they're very passionate and like they want to be an artist. I don't think I had that like set in my mind. I was just kind of like going to school and it was an art school. But obviously I learned so much, and I'm really grateful that I went to the different art schools. But I think that my passion for art started when I was halfway through college at UNF. I was going to college for...
That late? Yeah. I mean, I'm surprised it was that late. I thought you were going to tell me when you're 13, you're like, you just were really into it. But you're saying you didn't really, really get into it till college then?
Well, I had been told and kind of believed the narrative of the starving artist. And I was like, well, I don't want to pursue something that I'm going to be broke in my whole life, so it just wasn't really something that I wanted to focus on. But then I had a mentor that I worked with and he taught me about the law of attraction and just a lot of stuff that kind of led me to believe that art was what I should pursue. And then I just decided to fully pursue it 100%.
I'm laughing because I can imagine you being around people that were twice your age back then that were saying, we said, what do you do? I'm an artist. Yeah, but what do you do to make a living?
Always, still, to this day, they say, oh, but what's your real job? Which I get it,
Have you've been full-time in this, and you are full-time, right? And you've been full-time in this for many years, right?
Yeah, probably at least 5 years now, maybe a little more.
What were you first drawing when you were first drawing? What did you draw the most of?
I think I became pretty well known for doing a lot of portraits of women, like women and floral and stuff like that.
Did you so I would have thought it would have been, well, I don't know. when I think about boys that were drawing, they're all drawing superheroes and they were drawing all the villains and they were drawing all that kind of stuff and everything because they were first into it. But you went down a different path of that.
Yeah, my evolution has been a little just different, I think, than some other artists. But I think also every artist has their own unique pathway. I mean, I've met people that are, closer to my age. I'm 29, and that kind of meet me or come in touch with me somehow and realize, I just, met a girl on this recent project that I did. She was just walking by, and we were all doing a mural with 13 different women or 12 different women. She was the 13th, and she's in the Navy. And since working with me, she's kind of decided that she's going to pursue art for full time. So I think people can have their realization at a lot of different, at any point in their life. I'm glad that I had it when I did, so I can be where I am now.
You painted several murals around town and I'm sure out of this town. Can you give a shout out to the ones that you played a role in? Because I'm sure people are going to hear this, they're going to be from other areas other than Arlington. So let's sort of put it out there.
Oh, in the city.
Yeah, I guess in the city, then we'll talk about outside the city.
Okay. Well, I actually just made a map the other day of all the places I've painted murals, with the exception of private homes. And there's 70 different locations around town where I've painted murals. So I guess one of the biggest contributors to that is the Jack's Kids Mural Project. through which we did over 30 murals in Title I schools around Jacksonville. That was a PNC Bank grant that I got for that. So there's about 30 murals in different schools around town. The one I was just talking about, the Cosmic Crystals mural that we did, it was 13 different women, and we had a unifying theme. We each did our own piece, and it wraps around this gas station in Springfield. I'm like drawing a blank now. There's one I did a while ago on Park Street in Riverside, right across from Jimmy John's.
Yeah.
And that one was, a lot of people message me and they're like, how do I do murals, this and that? And I just say, you got to figure out who the building owner is and you got to get permission. And that's exactly what I did. And this was like a massive wall, and I had never really painted anything this big before. So I pretty much stumbled through the whole thing, and it took me like a month. But, whenever I drive by it, it's like fond memories. It's a floral design, but now there's a building being built in front of it. So that's kind of sad, but...
some of the ones, Leah.
Oh yeah,
that are around town.
You got pictures there, so you can. That's the one.
Make them all. So I drive through that area. I'm on the other side of town, on the lakeshore, but I come through Riverside all the time, so that one I'm very familiar with. But I guess my question is, like, do you have a favorite that you've worked on, or one that you are like, I never want to see that one get covered up?
All of them, but I understand that they do get covered up. That's something that, as a street artist, you have to just understand, and you can't get mad about it.
I feel like it would be sort of like building a sandcastle almost. And, you put it out in the public, and then it might get graffitied on or something built in front of it or torn down. It might disappear, but it's there for a short time for everyone to appreciate, right?
Sometimes they last a long time, like the one on the outside of Burrito Gallery, which is so cool. The one downtown. That's been up for, I think, 13 years now.
That is a long time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's one right across from my house that just has spray. It's really cool looking, but it just has somebody just spray painted down it.
Oh yeah, they went on a rampage.
Yeah. So how do you feel about that? I feel like once it's out there in the public, and if it's altered by somebody, is that just kind of part of it, or does that really burn you?
Well, it's very upsetting. I would never wish it on anyone.
Okay.
I feel really bad for the artists whose murals had that happen to them, because, those artists are busy right now. They're working. They got a lot going on. It takes a lot for them to go get the colors they need and get out there and like fix it. It took a long time to get those murals done, and it's going to take a long time to fix them, but it took like 5 seconds for that person to destroy it, I have a mural in Miami right now that graffiti writers decided was a good palette for them to paint on, and it makes me really mad every time I drive by. But, I'd have to stop everything I'm doing and go and fix it or paint over it, and that's a lot of energy, and it's exhausting. So it's upsetting, but, I think at the end of the day, the people that deface the murals are the ones that look like jerks.
Yeah,
so.
It's easier to destroy something.
Well, tell me the one. You just said you did one down in Miami, so let's...
Is that in Wynwood?
The one that I'm talking about is in Little Haiti, but I do have a couple in Wynwood. I have a huge one that I did last year during Art Basel. It's probably like 36 feet tall by like 100 feet long. It's a huge jaguar. It's definitely the biggest one I've done in Miami and Wynwood. I also have a wall. It's funny because it's like a lawless mural country down there in Wynwood. You never know. Each wall is a different story. But the same thing I did here when I was trying to do murals. I just went and tried to find the owners of the buildings. And I'm part of a crew of all female graffiti writers and street artists from all over the world called Few and Far Women. And I became part of the crew about 4 years ago, and I've participated in multiple mural productions with them, which is where I've learned a lot of my mural production organization skills and whatnot. And I got us a wall for last year's Art Basel, and part of the crew and some other local girls came out and we did a mural production together. So that's a nice wall that we have down there.
What is Art Basel?
Art Basel is like the Super Bowl of art and street art and everything. It happens in Miami and also in Sweden. I think it might happen somewhere else. I
So
think.
is it always in Miami's where they always do it, like once a year or something?
Yeah, it originated in Sweden in a place called Basel, and then they do it. It's an art expo. So they have they set up these huge tents like you guys do here at Paradise. They set up huge tents and they do huge expos of like the finest art in the world. But it's not only that; it trickles down to like like new graffiti writers running around just tagging on everything, and then it's like people like paying $20,000 to get permission to put a paid advertisement mural on a wall in Wynwood during Art Basel. It's like a time frame of like a week where just numerous events are going on, all different types of events, like all around the city. But Wynwood is kind of like the hot spot. And I know there's a lot that goes on in South Beach too, but
Well, if they do it every year there, at some point, they're not running out of space of the huge buildings?
well, some murals stay up for years, which for me, I would think, in Wynwood that they would just get covered, but some stay for a long time. Some get covered over in like a month. Some get graffitied immediately after they get painted. But Wynwood is going through a lot of development now, and they've got like skyscrapers going up there. It was when Art Basel kind of first started coming there, Wynwood was just an underprivileged community, and now because of Art Basel and all like the art, the murals and everything, it's like a hot spot. So there's skyscrapers and condos being built and everything. So there's some like pretty massive walls that are being painted that probably won't ever get repainted. But it is kind of spreading around the Wynwood area into areas like Little Haiti and stuff like that, which is where I did the one that got graffitied.
Art scenes range from city to city. When I walk around Jacksonville, I see art everywhere I look. But after hearing about Miami's art scene, I realize that may be relative to looking at the wheat fields and mountains of my last home. So how can Jacksonville's art scene go from existing to thriving?
Jacksonville is a very unique city. I think that it is a little bit behind in a lot of ways, especially in the art community. Like I said before, a lot of the large-scale public art projects that have been done around here have not featured local artists, and therefore, beyond that, there just isn't really a lot of opportunity.
Why? I mean, I've dealt with that for what I do for a living. Has there been times in my 26-year history of PRI Productions that this one's important, they bring another production company, like, are you serious? I don't even understand that. So I think that's what you're relating to, that it's like, are you serious?
Yeah.
Meaning that just because they're from somewhere else, that suddenly makes it seem more interesting, when I'm like, no, this is who we are too. We're right here.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely frustrating. I try to be understanding of all sides so that I can be a balanced person in general, but I think that it's silly for all of this money and all of these opportunities to not be going into our arts and culture community, because the artists that are dedicated and talented and driven are just moving. They're leaving. They move to other places where they can actually get work and get recognized and develop their career. And, out of frustration from that, I've taken it upon myself to, organize arts events and community projects and stuff like that, just to bring artists together, develop connections, and
on your own.
Yeah.
There's not organizations in the city like the Cultural Council or other ones, and I'm just saying other art organizations aren't organized enough to the point that you feel that you need to do this too, or are they doing it in different ways, or maybe not related to the same kind of art you're dealing with, or you just want to see more, or what?
I think that the Cultural Council has definitely been doing stuff, especially recently, that's been great for the community, and I love the people that work over there. I think they have, great intentions, and they're doing a great job, but I haven't seen what I believe is needed in our community. So I kind of just, I got a grant from the Cultural Council, actually, so, I'm very grateful for their support, and that grant was for a mural festival for kids that I did downtown in Hemming Plaza. It was called the Jack's Kids Mural Festival. And it was really successful. It was awesome. I had never really thrown an event before, a festival. Like, I had no idea what I was doing, but it went great. And, I learned a lot. And from there, I did an event called Color Me Kona, which was at Kona Skate Park. And it was essentially a fundraiser for the Kids Mural Project, where we went to all the schools and stuff. And that was massive. And, Kona's, they've thrown a lot of events before, so we kind of teamed up on that one. And it was amazing. We had a huge turnout. Over 100 young local artists were involved and performers, and they all connected, and now they collaborate. And when they see me organizing events, they believe they are capable of doing the same. So since doing these events, there was another one I did called We Rise Festival, which was after the shooting at the landing. I kind of just was like, what can I do to contribute to a positive change in the city overall? And the conclusion was that I knew a lot of people, so I figured I could bring everybody together and kind of just push out this narrative that, we are a city that collaborates and works together, and we have a lot of talent here. And it was beautiful. And
when I think about the Cultural Council in general, and I'm a big supporter of them also, but I'm also recognizing that they have a broad sense of artist or art that would, and how that's interpreted, which could even be music, which could be it's a lot that that it specifically entails. And you're mostly focused on painting in regards to art.
And
right?
I'm really, really involved with music and interested in music, particularly like the hip hop genre and kind of, related genres, because I want to create a community where young artists can thrive and be creative and kind of choose a positive pathway in life. And you're right about the Cultural Council, and they do funnel a lot of great support and funding to theater companies and music company, organizations around town. So that's definitely a good
But y'all
point.
have a seat at the table, at least, to be able to talk about the painting and the artistry side of that.
Yeah. And it's all really connected these days, especially with social media. Like, rappers are working with videographers and photographers and creative directors for their music videos, their wardrobe, it's all very interconnected. So I kind of just wanted to do these events and projects to really get everybody connected and working together in the same way that, it happens in Miami and LA, and every different art field is kind of working together and engaged.
You said, you mentioned earlier a couple times about working with youth. How'd you get started with that? Obviously, that's become some kind of a passion, a little bit of a passion for you. Can you talk to me about that?
Yeah, I'm definitely passionate about it. It started One Spark 2015. Yeah. That was the first One Spark I did, and I was pretty successful. I almost won. But my project, I was trying to figure out what to do exactly, and I kind of landed on, art and kids. And so my project at the time was Art for Jacksonville's Youth and Beyond, which was a very long, terrible name. But basically, if I won, I was going to use the money to go and paint murals in schools. And during One Spark, someone from the city approached me from the Parks and Rec department, and they had a summer program called Summer Night Lights, where they, just engaged youth in different communities in our city that, were somewhat underserved and kind of in need of inspiration and whatnot, and something to, keep the kids engaged and busy. And when I did those projects with them, which we did murals, like a giant coloring book murals with the kids at the community center, and that was the first time, honestly, that I've really been engaged in marginalized communities like that. And just I love kids in general, and seeing the kids and kind of the lives, the stress that they go through and stuff like that. I just became passionate about wanting to be a light and a source of motivation for them, especially because these areas don't have a lot of public art. They don't have a lot of role models in their community that show them that being an artist is even a thing beyond hip hop and becoming a rapper. But even if you are interested in hip hop and becoming a rapper and in that sort of art world, like there's a million different artistic things that you can do to be involved in the genres that these kids are like interested in. So I just kind of want to be someone that shows them that the possibilities for their life are much more than what they think.
So tell me, if someone was listening that actually had some kids that want to get involved, is it opportunities like that, or is it extremely segmented only into certain areas, or how could they get involved if they wanted their kids involved?
So my projects have definitely been focused on, different marginalized communities around the city, because I feel like they're the ones that have the least access to arts and culture-related programs. But I personally don't have any sort of programs or projects that are going on right now that for kids to get involved with. But I am seeing more and more pop up different art camps. Like I know Mocha had, the Comer actually has art camp. There's different private groups that are doing, arts programs and stuff like that. I wish there was more that I could say, but I'm not really sure.
Well, I would assume in the world we're living in the last several months, whatever was planned would probably have been altered to some extent anyway.
Virtual.
So everybody's, as far as gathering people together right now, that would be tough.
Yeah.
And so, but hopefully visions can come out of this time frame in which it can be more like the opportunity to get kids involved in this.
Yeah.
But you said you didn't. That's not your favorite, is doing murals.
I like.
Which is what I mean, it's hard for me to think when I see something massive that's not and I guess I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. That's not the identity that you want to be. You want to be something altered, different than that. No?
Well, murals are exhausting and difficult to paint, and I've painted a lot of them. So at the moment, I'm a little tired. And so, and I'm also really, like I said, I used murals as a way to kind of get my name out there and become known. And at this time in my career, my main focus is really on crafting my own unique style and focusing on, what it is that makes me different and makes me unique. So I don't really want to be working on huge walls if I don't have a vision that I'm like really, really passionate and excited about, because I'm going to be, I don't want to be exerting all this energy to produce something that I don't feel like is like extremely unique and one of a kind, something that represents me and sets me apart as an artist.
So you have a studio. Is the studio in your house? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just my house. It's just my apartment.
But you said you're painting people.
Originally, my favorite thing, was to do portraits of women. But over time, my style has kind of evolved. I'm working on it, the evolution now. But, there's different elements that I incorporate to make my style like more me and more one of a kind. And that's, through my color palette, which there's a lot of pink, a lot of neon colors. I also love to do animals. I kind of like 90s vibes. So, like all the things that were cool in the 90s, I'm kind of trying to bring them back and incorporate them in like new ways, like checkerboard and like barbed wire, and just think of like any classic 90s tattoo that you can think of, stuff like that. But I think one of the biggest things about my work is kind of a balance between beauty and fun and happy and like a little bit of like an edge. So for this design I just did for Void Magazine's Void Artist Network that they've just started is a smiley face that's made of barbed wire. So a barbed wire smiley face with butterflies flying around it and like pink and yellow background. So it's like there's a little bit of an edge, but it's like, also beauty. So balance, I guess.
I'm bouncing around a lot, but I'm doing it just
Me too.
As I'm listening to you, it makes me go back and just so are the artists in our city organized, or do you think they need to get more organized? Or how often do y'all connect?
Well, I think there was kind of this big when the We Rise Festival was kind of the first of its kind in terms of just run and organized by local artists. We had meetings like every week of all the volunteers and all the people that wanted to be involved and contribute to making a change. And so the network of artists and musicians that were involved, there was 20 different musicians that performed, probably 50 artists that were involved, like skateboarders came out, vendors, etc. And that event itself was like a big spark for the community of artists coming together, working together, producing their own events and stuff like that. So I think that, artists are seeing what's possible, when they watch me throw events, when they watch other people organize events and projects. There's new magazines that are coming out. There's a magazine called Rad X Mag that has been amazing at featuring the local art community, and I think that that's really helpful. So I think there's artists and projects that are going on that are definitely building on this arts and culture community here, and I think the future for our city's arts and culture is bright, and every day somebody's doing something new and exciting. So I think it's really just going to start ramping up, and more things are going to be happening. So I think it's going great right now.
So let's get down to actually making a living being creative. We all get to enjoy the benefits of street art for free, but somebody's paying for it, right? And if someone's paying, how do artists market themselves and make sure they're considered when the next big project comes along?
How does that get priced out? How do you even try to get to a number? How do you calculate that? And there is no average price of a mural, but how do you even wrap your head around what that would take?
So a lot of artists just use per square foot, and a lot of artists, a kind of a standard is $15 per square foot, which turns in the end is substantial. But it really depends on the situation. Like I said, I've done huge murals for free just to get my name out there, just to put my work on the wall. And then I've also been paid very well for murals. It really depends on the situation. That's one thing I try to help a lot of up and coming artists with, is pricing their work and how much to ask for and stuff like that. So it really just depends on the situation, but it can range from free to $250,000.
How do people find you? Just through word of mouth, or what else could be done?
So Instagram has been one of the biggest tools for me to use over the past few years to build my network, and I think that's one of the biggest ways that I get my name out there. Also Facebook, just my organic friend group, sharing my stuff. And so every day I get emails, phone calls, text messages, DMs asking for me to do something. So it's just...
Are you backed up?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. I'm not the best with time management.
Not for murals, for things that you would do out of your studio.
Both. Yeah, I have 2 murals coming up for the Boys and Girls Clubs. I've done a lot of murals for them, and I have another basketball court turned skate park mural that I'm going to be doing, which I'm really excited about, and just a few other things here and there for different clients. But I think word of mouth is still definitely very strong. I think my clients, people go into restaurants that I've painted or whatever, and they're like, oh, who painted that? And they give them my info, and yeah.
10, 15 years from now, what do you want to mostly think you would be painting?
Wow, that's a long time from now, you'd think, right? But it goes by really quickly. I want to be... I definitely want to travel the world more and paint murals.
Around the world.
That's something I want. If I'm in Jacksonville, cool. Painting murals is not my priority. But if I'm going to go, I just went to India in December with some of the girls from my crew, Few and Far, and we painted, a few murals around Mumbai, and I collaborated with a local graffiti writer, and we painted one of my favorite murals of all time. His name is Epoch. And we also worked with a few other local artists over there, and that was amazing. I also connected with some girls a girl from Iran and a girl from Indonesia who are also street artists, and those are really valuable connections to me. And I love being able to be connected with them on Instagram and see what they're doing literally every day. Like I can watch what they do every day, and it's just so crazy to have a connection with somebody across the world, and it gives you like more of a global perspective, I think, which can benefit everybody. But yeah, so 10 to 15 years, I hope that I have a really beautiful house with like an epic studio, probably in my house, because I don't really love leaving my house to go to work, but and probably like on the water somewhere. And I would love to be making artwork. And one of the things I really have a lot of fun doing is making clothes. So like airbrushing, tie-dyeing, cutting, sewing, screen printing. I actually haven't screen printed anything, but I plan on it. And just getting really creative with fashion. And I love collaborating with like music artists, for example, like making a whole outfit for them and then doing a photo shoot with them. I love collaborating with other people. So I'd like to think in 10 to 15 years that I have somewhat of a production facility or, in my studio where like clothing is easy for me to make. Like I'd love to have a sewing machine and know how to use it really well. Like full screen printing setup or direct to garment printing, like, whatever I need. I'd love to just be able to go in there and just make whatever I want.
Has everything that you painted flat?
I've painted random things, I'm sure of it. I can't think of anything right now. I painted a sea turtle, like a sculpture. But the ones in it, like the ones that are around everywhere. There's like manatees around.
That the Otis Smith Foundation years ago used to do.
So I repainted. I touched up one of those, but that's the only thing I can think of. But I know I've painted random things before. I painted a hat the other day that came out really cool.
You ever said no?
Yeah, all the time.
Really?
These days, especially.
Why?
Because I just don't have the time, or people don't have the money.
Other than the time or the money, have you also ever said no?
Yeah, if it's something that's just not even like it's somebody that hasn't looked at my website or looked at my Instagram or looked at any of my work, and they don't know what my art looks like, and they come to me and they ask me for something that I would I have like no interest in painting. It's not within my I know I would just be miserable working on it.
How do you describe your type of artistry? And when you're saying they don't understand me, what does that mean?
Well, a lot of the times when people come to me, they have somewhat of a concept like, oh, I want a panther on my wall. And then I can do the panther in my style. So my colors, my like elements, my like, I have a little bit like, I like, super realism mixed with abstract. And then, like my colors. But sometimes people come to me and they say like, oh, I want a nautical clock with blue and gray and brown and all this stuff, and it's just they want something specific, and it's just not it's not me. So obviously when you're building your career as an artist, you say yes to everything, but I'm at the point now where I can I get a lot of people that ask me for stuff all the time, and usually I source it out to another artist. So I really love being able to do that. Just help put money in other artists' pockets and help them, climb up the ladders with their careers.
In regards to being an artist, what do you need?
Like to become an artist?
No. In regards to you being an artist, what do you need?
What do you mean?
More connections, more this, more time, more. I'm just trying to figure out what would make you
happy.
Wow, how would I say that? I guess I don't want to set it up, but yeah, what would make you happier? What would make you? I don't want to say more productive. What would make you more efficient? What would make you evolve more? What is it that you need? It could be anything, I guess.
Well, I'm working towards it every day, getting jobs that pay more so that I'm not as stressed and scrambling all the time to get work. So, higher paying jobs, what I was saying, like 10 to 15 years, I'd love to have like a big epic studio, like a big open space where I just have all the tools I need to go in there and just, I have an idea in my head and boom, I can put it on a canvas or make the clothes or, just like a fully functioning studio and money, money to do all the ideas I want to do.
Have you ever painted something and you really like it a whole lot and somebody the client just like, no?
Well, I've been through it all. I have been through it all. And at this point, I have like a very strict sort of bullet point list of how things need to operate. So before I even start the mural, I have, they have to approve the rendering and they can't change it like in the middle, but I have like, an iPad and Procreate, so I can make renderings like very on point to like almost exactly what it'll look like. So, and if they do, and then we have agreements that we sign and everything. And if they do stop me in the middle or at the end, I'm like, well, look at our agreement. You agreed to this. Like, if you want me to change it, we can do a change order and you have to pay more. So
I do have a question. So when we're talking about the city's public murals, do you think most of those commissions come from the private buildings, or is it generated from like a city like push?
It's not like the city does, participate in some public art stuff, through the cultural council and independently. Like I work with the Parks and Rec department to do these basketball courts, but a lot of the ones downtown are from certain art organizations that have their own agendas for public art and stuff like that. So it's usually either the cultural council or those art organizations, and then every now and then you'll have something that was the building owner wanted it done, but not a lot of building owners care to go out of their way to get a mural done unless they're, like a restaurant or a business that's opening that wants, something for people to come take selfies in front of or, just liven up their space.
Is there any permitting involved or anything? It's all on the building, so maybe not.
As far as I know, you just need permission from the building owner. I think different towns have different, like I think, Atlantic Beach has different rules and but I don't really concern myself with those rules too much. I just go with the idea that the building owner has to approve it, and I've never had anything that has come back like, oh, the city doesn't approve this, it needs to be removed type thing.
I would find that. So tell me about everybody's a critic. That's just a general statement. How do you deal with those if they would wind up just saying what you're doing is graffiti? I'm just saying, haven't you ever heard something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I've done actual graffiti like back in the day, and like, I think everyone that gets interested in street art that kind of does it.
But now you don't like them.
Well, it depends. So the thing about graffiti technically is letters. It's, it's different from street art and murals. Graffiti is letters. There's like a whole culture behind it. And when I was learning to use spray paint and do murals, I was taught by graffiti writers. So they, educated me on, the history and the etiquette and the culture, which I think is very important to understand if you're going to take it seriously. But a lot of people...
Can you tell me about a little bit of that? Because I'm curious. I'm really curious about what is it. Tell me about what they're sharing.
Well, it's like, obviously it's illegal, but, there's certain places where you do or don't paint. You don't paint over certain people. There's like, there's like tags and throwies and then full pieces and then burners and like you can't paint over certain one. There's just rules to it. And I think a lot of kids or people, they see like a documentary on Netflix or YouTube and they like get excited about it and they want to be a graffiti writer and they just go and paint on anything and over anybody and it's just, so there is some etiquette to it. So at this point I respect graffiti writers that respect the rules and have proper placement, but then you see like these tags that are not exactly well crafted and you kind of,
Is it organized?
Well, I think it used to be more organized than it is now. I think social media has like really changed street art and graffiti culture a lot. Not, it's less people now that really understand like the etiquette and the culture behind it. So it's a lot less organized. But there are positives to social media, which I think is like pushing the boundaries of graffiti in terms of like the artistics of it. And yeah.
Between when you were starting to do this, how many years ago was your first mural?
I think my first mural, I remember it was in Boynton Beach, and it has to be like 8 or 9 years ago now.
Okay, from then till now, do you feel that society is the same, or do you feel that they're more appreciative now than they were when you first started doing it? Or do you think it hasn't changed?
Well, there's actually been a lot of like sort of activism. I think graffiti and activism kind of go hand in hand in a lot of ways. But I think, like certain brands, like high-end brands, have exploited graffiti and like without crediting or, paying the graffiti artists. And there has been, graffiti has become mainstream. So I definitely think people are more accepting of it. People are paying thousands and thousands of dollars to have graffiti writers come and paint graffiti on their building. And like I said, brands are exploiting graffiti and graffiti artists, and they've gotten a lot of like people have lashed out through social media, and that has led to change and evolution within it.
I might have missed this, but did you grow up in Jacksonville?
No, actually, I grew up in West Palm Beach.
Okay. You were saying that a lot of local artists wind up leaving to find opportunities in other cities with bigger art scenes. What made you stay here with your desire to travel the world? And do you feel like this is going to be your home base?
My desire, I moved here to go to UNF to study to become a Spanish teacher. I don't know what I was thinking. I started at UNF studying physical therapy. I thought I was going to be a physical therapist. Mm-hmm. I don't know why. I got into chemistry class and anatomy, and I was like, I don't want to do this, But so like I came here to go to school at UNF. It didn't really work out at UNF. I had a bad semester, and I just moved back home, and that's where I worked with the mentor. He was a chiropractor. I worked in his office, and he taught me a lot about law of attraction and stuff like that. And I kind of decided that art was what I was going to pursue. And I had a lot of friends and clients here. Strata Clothing, who's like extremely successful now. They went from like small scale t-shirt printing company to like large scale manufacturing company, which is amazing. I connected with them through the surf team at UNF because surfing was a big part of my life at the time, and I made some t-shirt designs for them, and kind of was doing a little bit of art here, moved back home, decided art was what I wanted to pursue, and I was coming back and forth, like bringing paintings to clients and stuff here, and all my friends were here, and I had gotten involved in the community here, like skateboarding scene.
This just became home for you.
Yeah, it just became home.
Do you mentor anyone? Do you try to pass on what you've learned, and what do you tell younger artists who have that starving artist narrative drilled into them? Like I know I did when I was in high school. I never even imagined trying to make a living as an artist.
I hate that narrative. Do you mentor them on
that? Is there any truth to it, or do you have to be just open to different income streams? Like what? Yeah. How do you mentor young kids who are interested in what you do?
So I definitely try to mentor a lot of kids as much as I can. I think that the starving artist narrative is, I personally, I haven't really looked into too much of where it came from and whatnot, but I think it's stupid, honestly, because art is so much a part of our lives every single day. Like I was saying, in the music industry, like any sort of creative there's always artists involved in everything. And there's plenty of opportunities to become an artist. And, I think one thing people think about artists is that, which, is true, is that we're, we can be unorganized, unprofessional, like, a little spacey and, very good at art, but maybe not so good at business and organization and stuff like that. But I think that anybody can succeed in anything that they want to do, like literally anything. Like if you're obsessed with frogs, random, you can become like a frog professional and like make a good living off of it somehow. You just have to have determination and the desire to be successful. You got to be willing to research and work hard and put yourself out there and learn and do stuff for free. Like a lot of people volunteer to work with me and help me on my projects, but I make sure that they're getting the most out of it. I teach them as much as I possibly can. I also teach classes on mural painting, and I'm not afraid to teach people exactly how I paint everything I do, because nobody's ever going to do what I do the way I do it. So I'm not afraid to like sharing my secrets and stuff like that. So I do have a lot of kids that I mentor through these projects that they volunteer on. A lot of teenagers. I hang out with teenagers all the time. I don't know how, but they're great, and I teach them as much as I can, and you can see them change like their whole vibration and energy once they work with somebody that is like successful and doing what they want to do. They just
it makes it real that it's a possibility for them.
Yeah.
By just looking at the style, whether it's yours or someone else, can people tell who did it?
Murals and art. Yeah. That's a lot of the times, yes. Especially artists that have been doing it for a long time. Like I was saying, defining my own unique style is something that I've been really working towards, because to be a successful artist, like I feel like you have to have a style that's unique and one of a kind. And when somebody walks by a mural or sees a painting, they're like, oh, that looks like a Nico, So, yeah.
What do you do to get yourself in the zone?
Listen to music, certain style music.
Yeah, I listen to a lot of
Turn
playlists.
on all the lights. Just sort of dream for a minute. What?
I just like chill, in my house. I'll drink some wine, and like listen to playlists on SoundCloud, a lot of hip hop, but a lot of like experimental stuff, and just, it's like kind of make it like meditation vibes in the studio.
Is there a good place for Jacksonville locals to go and find local artists if they like consumers to go?
So I think social media is a great resource for that.
Because, like, say you have a house, you would love some local artwork. When you say social media, say if I go on there, it's easy to get lost in the world of social media. There's millions of different pages, and it's just easy to go down a rabbit hole and get lost. Is there somewhere that things are kind of conglomerated a little bit?
So there's actually a new gallery at the beach. I forget the name of it. It's some numbers, but I've seen some of the stuff they post. It's pretty cool. There's another House a Creative, I think. Mm-hmm. That's in Mayport. But in terms of social media, there are definitely some pages that you can follow to be more connected. And one of those is Create Jax with the number 8.
Okay.
That is run by photographer Tony Smilagic. I think that's how I say his name. And he features all kinds of creative things that are going on. Rad X Mag, the magazine I was telling you about earlier, they are constantly posting local artists. That's probably like your best resource for finding local art here. I have a page that I was that we were running when we did the We Rise festival. We did a few projects and events after that festival under the name of We Rise, and we had a page that kind of just turned into like a blog similar to RadX. So that's We Rise Movement MVMT. It's no longer active, but it's still an archive of a lot of local artists. Void, under the direction of Matt Shaw, has really put a major focus on artists in the last few months. And so, on their website, they have a whole section about art. You can find all different types of like music, visual art. Like I said, they're doing a new program right now, the Void Artist Network program, which I'm happy to be a part of. And Dustin Harewood as well as a part of that. And they have, we each have our own T-shirts and prints of our T-shirt design, and then a coffee that I don't know too much about the coffee, but I know that my design is on the front of the coffee.
Oh, that's cool.
So yeah, those are a few resources.
Where do people specifically find you if they want to find you?
I'm on Instagram at Nico Suavelicious.
But you're dropping the suave.
I not in the Instagram name.
Okay.
That the Instagram name is kind of iconic, and I'm okay with it because it's.
So
not
what is it again?
Nico Suavelicious. So just play that over again and write it down and think how you think you spell it. If you're in Jacksonville and you type Nico SU, then probably I'll pop up.
Mm-hmm.
My picture is pink and a tiger. So,
What's your favorite city to go visit for art inspiration, or just to see what they're doing in their particular culture?
Miami is definitely my favorite place to go. It's like a breath of fresh air every time I go down there. I love the tropics. I love the palm trees. Obviously, Wynwood, there's always something new. If you drive through, there's always something new I love to see. I feel like I have pretty good knowledge of like a lot of the different street artists that are out there, so I usually can recognize certain ones. There's also, a lot of different music, and it's just, a high energy city with a lot going on. So Miami's definitely my favorite place to visit.
And if you weren't working in Jax, where would you want to do?
Miami.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also love New York, but like New York is amazing. Just really like the energy there. It's very unique and I love it. But, Miami is warm and tropical, and that's my favorite.
A few other quick questions you wanted to ask?
I don't know. I think we've covered a
Yeah,
lot of ground there. Yeah.
Thanks for being so open
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
sharing with everything. I think
Yeah,
it's
of
been a
course.
great conversation.
Thank you.
So Nico Holderbaum, which I guess she's Nico Suavelicious.
Yeah, you got it.
It's how I guess they would go about finding you.
Yeah, Nico Suavelicious on Instagram. My website is nicosuaveart.com. And if you search Nicole Holderbaum on Google, there's actually a lot of articles out there about me. Pretty
That's
proud
cool.
of that. So you can learn. There's, I've done some other podcasts, and people have made some videos about me and stuff like that. So you can find me out there.
And
What's the next big project we should keep an eye on?
yeah, I was going to ask that.
Well, the next big project is the next basketball court mural. So it's at Florida Dwight Park, which is right next to Shiloh Church in the La Villa area. And it's an old tennis court, I think that it's a tennis court, that the city has transformed into a skate park, which I think is really cool. Very cool initiative by the city, Parks and Rec Department. This is the second, there's 2 basketball courts that they did this with. They turned it into a skate park. And I painted the first one, and I'm going to be painting the next one. And for me, it's also very special because when I was growing up in elementary and middle school, I think actually just elementary school, after school, while I was waiting for my parents to get off work, I would go to the community center in Palm Beach Gardens where it was attached to a skate park. So I basically hung out at the skate park every day. And a lot of my friends, that's just been a big part of my life ever since because, within skateboarding, there's a lot of artwork. Skateboarding itself is like a very individualistic sport where people express themselves in very unique ways through style, through everything, the types of tricks they do, the types of parks they skate. And so obviously, I really connect to that. So I'm very excited to be painting these skate parks. And so that's definitely, and it's also huge, it's a very large scale project. And so I'm really excited about that. I got a great crew of volunteers. The last basketball court we did, a lot of people have been messaging me wanting to help and participate. So I just finally made a group chat on Instagram for literally anybody that messaged me saying they want to help. And there's 20 people in there. So I just post in there okay, this is the schedule for the week. And we get 12 people out there. And we did the last basketball court in 4 days because we had so many volunteers. So I'm hoping we get the same energy for the next one, just knock it out. And I have an amazing, my friend Chris Jolly, he's a great photographer and video person, and he made a video for the first one, and he's going to make the video for the second one, and he's also a skateboarder, so it all ties together.
Very cool.
Well, thank you for spending time with us. So we've been here talking for the last hour with Nico Holderbaum, who does large-scale murals, and I think it's pretty cool for the one that's right there in my neighborhood that I actually know you. So I think that's pretty cool. So thank you for doing that. Also, I do think it's pretty cool that you're working with the youth for Tomorrow's Artist and how you're doing that. So I think it's pretty cool too. So again, I wish you much success. You're doing well during COVID. Any comments about that one? Did that hold you back? Did that stop projects? Or are you just moving on from your house and you're still on schedule? How did that impact you?
Actually, for me, it was a break that I really needed. My life is kind of just like, I'm just overwhelmed most of the time. And so it was like, we had to stay home. So I was like, well, I have to stay home. I can't do stuff. But yeah. I definitely got active in my house, and I was doing all kinds of creative stuff in my house. And I loved it. I loved being in my house, being creative. But of course, I actually did, I raffled off a painting to, we raised like over $1,000 for the Cultural Council's Artist Relief Fund. And so we were able to provide like some small grants for local artists that were impacted. I'm fortunate to, be in a position where it didn't affect me greatly, but I was never like bored or not busy. I was always busy. I've stayed busy. And now that things are less quarantine, back to, the overwhelming busy schedule.
Well, I wish I could say all that. And the first couple weeks of this, I felt like I was counting toothpicks at home. So I was going nuts. So nice to know that not everybody was doing what I was doing, but you kept busy. So that's great. So again, thanks for coming and talking with us. This is I look for your work when I drive around town, and I'm sure I'll see it more and more.
Yeah, definitely. You'll be able to tell people, the person who painted that.
I do. I will tell them too. I'll probably tell people tonight, by the way.
All right, cool.
So, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Beyond the Bold is produced by PRI Productions, engineered by Alex Chapman, produced and edited by Leah Adams, Russell Pettibone, and Melissa Alexander. Our web and video team is Matt Oystacher and Adam Madrid. To learn more about what we do, visit priproductions.com and make sure to come with us next time when we go Beyond the Bold.